Today we were gifted the luxury of unboxing a new Airsoft GBB that I've been excited about since the time of its release. It is absolutely essential that I let you know this has only been made possible thank you to Lancer Tactical for sending this over alongside a bunch of other replicas that they want me to test out. So thank you Lancer Tactical again for sponsoring this video and allowing me to showcase on my channel the WELLPRO PPK20. I am also not being forced to share any opinion other than my own in this video. All opinions are genuine, my own, and here's a list of all the cool things we're going to showcase in case you can't wait. Sit back, relax, grab a coffee, and let's do this together, shall we? It is an absolutely incredible day when a company provides you with a hard case for the replica that you purchase, so props to you, Well. Now straight out of the box, you slide these tabs open, pull the top up, and it's kind of in there extremely loosely, so this is the first quirk that I noticed. Let's get rid of things we don't need and stuff that we're going to keep but we're not going to use right now. And then there's 3 things in this package that we need to keep mind of. You're gifted a mag, green gas, the WELLPRO PPK20. Keep in mind, yours will probably have a federally mandated orange tip. They're necessary for shipping inside of the United States. I don't know what country you're from if not, but I changed mine out because I'm legally allowed to. And then inside this bag are 2 things, one that's essential and the other that is not so necessary. You may be surprised here. You're presented a speed loader, which is phenomenal, always great to have. You'll see I glued mine together with the little knob that goes in the top, and there's a reason for this. We'll explain that later. And then crazy enough, the part that I appreciate them adding in but is not necessary, the little hop tool. The WELLPRO PPK20 is a mixture between metal and polymer, features an overall length of 210 millimeters, and with mag inserted claims to have a girth of 4.27 pounds. Not to mention those 38 round banana mags that I'll probably end up painting yellow. Time for some back to front action. We'll work our way from the stock forward. Stock in the back, button that causes a side folding action and brings it over to the right side. It will lock in place via a latch on the side, so you're going to have to keep that guy pressed down to go ahead and fold it all the way, and then it stays still with a little bit of movement. Go ahead and press the button again to fully extend it, and then you can also adjust the length. I noticed from testing there are 8 different possible positions that you can lock this guy into, and all you have to do is press this lever straight through, pull it back, and then push it back in. It features a QD point for a sling mount on the left side of the replica, and the stock has this nice, hard, stiff rubber butt pad. Moving on forward, the grip is actually attached to the trigger guard, which is super interesting, and there's not much feature to it other than a few grip panels on the sides. The mag well is small, but it also has a minor flare that allows you to seat your 9mm style banana mag right in place, and there's a latching lever on the back. It is pretty stiff. Very minimal wiggling, no up and down motion. The PPK20 also features an ambidextrous safety and auto switch, and on the far side it's kind of cool, very reminiscent of the AK, but functions the same as the left side does. However, it doesn't move up and down. It has almost this arcing pattern, which is super cool. And if you're wondering, you can't move it just via the AK selector panel. The charging handle, however, is not ambidextrous. It is AK style. Super nice, super cool, and it functions at half motion, kind of like most GBB AKs on the market. As for the trigger, let's set this guy to semi. Rack the charging handle. We have, whoa, there is no noticeable break there. You can't even feel where the wall is at all. It just goes and then drops. Very AK feel. This kind of reminds me of the GHK AK. But yeah, there's no wall at all. And then if we hold the trigger, rack the charging handle, check the reset. There is a noticeable reset. It does push the finger forward. There's some extra after travel, very small. And again, same thing. You can't feel the brake at all. That's very, very funky. And then obviously with your auto, it's the same. And there should be no reset as auto usually does. Something super interesting about the dust cover of the PPK20 is it does have a rail segment. Now, in most cases with AKs, this rail segment, unless permanently mounted onto the front handguard, will not allow your optics to hold 0. However, it is permanently mounted. There's no button to remove it. So keep that in mind. We'll take a look at that during the takedown. It is brick solid. That rail also extends up into the front handguard, where you'll feature some M-lock on the left side, and on the right side, and another rail segment on the bottom. Also connected to that rail are a pair of iron sights. The first one is up in the front and it's molded into the front handguard, so you can't remove this guy unless you cut it off, but you can adjust it for elevation. On the rear, this guy is a little on the funky side. You can adjust it for windage based off this Allen key on the side, and it will move it right to left. You don't get this Allen key in the box. And to adjust its elevation, you actually have to press down in the top and twist. It won't twist if you don't press down on the top. And it has 6 different elevation settings. For now, we'll keep it at 1. Just in front of your bolt, you're going to notice this little Allen key with a small plus and minus. What this is for is the tool that I showed you before that I'll probably wind up either losing or throwing out, because you could just use a regular Allen key, place it on in there, and to adjust your hop up, there is noticeable clicking. It's interesting to have the hop-up dial on the far side of the replica and not top-down center. However, it does function like a top-down center hop-up, and I believe this is standard GBB spec. So you can use any of your GBB buckings or GBB barrels. That's a mouthful. GBB buckings or barrels inside of the WELLPRO PPK20 if you choose so. And lastly, up at the front, under my custom flash hider, or the federally mandated orange tip that you'll have, is a 14mm counterclockwise thread, and the barrel goes all the way to the end. The last thing I'd like to take a look at before we get on the field is the banana mag. So this guy claims to hold 38 rounds. You do have to pull the little nub all the way down and then bring it straight on back up. There is no locking mechanism, and there's no port to load BBs at the bottom. You have to actually load them up in the front of here. You can't load them directly straight down. The gas router is flat. Your release mechanism for your gas is back here, which chances are you're probably not going to need to use, but in case you have to replace any O-rings. Now this little lever back here is your stop on empty lever. Keep in mind that this pries upwards to stop the replica when there's no BBs in it, just like a regular AK. And then you'll notice there's no port to feed your gas into. You actually have to bring this guy down and slide the plate off to access the area that you have to fill your gas. And now for the part we've all been waiting for, the field test. For the entirety of this test, we'll be using .2s and propane, so keep that in mind. The temperature's a whopping 70 degrees where I'm from, and we fed our mag propane and full of BBs. I didn't line them up perfectly. This is going to be tested as if we were filling it in an emergency in a game, because in most cases, that's probably what you'll be doing. And for the first test, I want to see how many magfuls of BBs we can get through on semi with a single gas fill. First test begins now. It's got a nice kick to it. It's very snappy. Obviously that bolt's not a full travel. You can really like fire up shots there. And it did stop on empty, which is super cool. Mag's a little cool, no signs of slowing down. Let's fill it again. Same gas fill, second mag of BBs, and let's continue our test. I really like that. If anyone knows me, they know I absolutely love an AK. And this is basically an AK with a thin mag, which I also really like, because in the amount of space that you can take to hold an entire AK mag, you could fit 2 of these. And it looks like we stopped on empty, finished the second mag. Like I've said in the past, 1 mag, congratulations, you've made a usable Airsoft replica. 2 mags, industry standard, it should be able to handle that. The third mag is where things get a little bit iffy and more forgiving, so let's see how it goes. No? Still got gas. What's that all about? Okay, there we go. That was kind of weird. I love this thing. I love how tiny it is. I think my favorite, like, ever replica would be an AK-74U with half modern, half classic, so like some wood and some M-LOK parts. Now, I wish you could make it look that way, but this really gives that AK-74U vibe. Oh, we're getting a little slower now. But we did successfully finish a third mag. All right, so the fourth mag, I don't know what to say other than that's just impressive. Why does that happen again? It's almost like the hammer's not setting. Now I have a double feed. Yeah, I don't really like that, but I'm not sure what that's all about. Definitely weaker. Oh. See, I like that. That last BB shot out until there was no gas left inside the mag, and it still fired relatively close to max power, which is huge. It was no like, oh, we're getting really, really sluggish. It made it through, which is crazy. So 3 mags and I don't know, like what, 5, 6 shots? That's not bad. I really do hope these new mics that I purchased are working well, because my neighbor is quite literally having an aneurysm with the lawn tools today. But next, we have totally filled this guy up with gas. We're gonna throw it into the PPK20, toss it into full auto, and do the same test where we see how many mags we can empty on auto. Mag in, bolt back, no forgiveness, we're just gonna send it. That feels amazing. Clean, no slowing down at the end. Let's fill it again. So we got our second mag filled with BBs on the same gas fill. Now, unlike semi with auto, finishing one full mag is industry standard. It's very impressive when they can cleanly. Second mag is a little bit more of something on a wish list or hopeful dreams. So we'll see how it plays out. Unbelievable. And it stopped. Unbelievable. We're getting better, I gotta say. Companies are getting so much better with the auto. Originally, auto is something that's kind of not great when it comes to GBBRs, just in case anyone else is aware. The fact that we're onto a third mag just says that we are getting somewhere. Oh, it's chugging. Is that it? We gassed out completely. And there's one BB left in there. I'm gonna call that 3 full mags. If you let that sit in your pouch for a little while and warm back up and gain a little bit more pressure, you would have cleanly finished 3 full mags, no problems, especially on a slightly warmer day too. That was dang well. So let's go ahead, take a look at the FPS and RPS. We're gonna set this guy up, which it is already for 0.2s, and we'll do a best of 10 round shots and see what our FPS winds up reading up to. Mag in, rack it back, throw it into semi, and let's see what she's made out of. 348, 345, 343, 342, 341, 339, 339, 338, 335, 328, 332, 329, and 321. So let's just take another look back at that, see what we did here. So our highest was, looks like 348 on the first shot, which is usually a little hot. And then we did have a significant decrease as the gas pressure started to lower. But the decrease wasn't really that large. We stayed within like 10 FPS range until we had that random 328 burst. But then it came back up again, which is not too bad. Let's see how fast it fires now. Just keep in mind, we're checking that little number on the bottom right. And for what we use as our baseline, the fastest gas blowback pistol out of the box is the Tokyo Marui Extreme 45. So dependent on how this guy plays and how close it gets to the 28 rounds per second that thing pushes off, will depend on how strong the RPS really is. So let's see if we can keep this lined up. Here we go. .36? I don't know. I don't think that's anywhere near 36. I'm not 100% sure. It just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. I'm not really sure why we're getting 36 as a RPS, but Hey, that's what it read. I really that was not 36, so don't believe that. So the audio quality might just be a little bit lesser because I want to test out the range and accuracy of this beast, and we're going to be firing at that little metal target at the end, so you'll hear it ting every time we make contact. Now I finally went ahead and I measured it. That is just under 40 feet away. I don't know what that is not in freedom units, so go ahead, calculate that on your own. If I counted correctly, there are around 34 BBs in here, and I want to see out of 34 how many we actually make contact with. So should be zeroed in, hop should be ready to go, and listen for the ting. I believe that was 26. That's not bad for a replica that's supposed to be an SMG. Damn. I can tell I'm gonna have fun with this thing. A quick adventure back to the inside on the bench. A, because my allergies are making me feel a little bit like a peanut-free kid at a circus, and B, because we gotta tear this guy down and show you what the insides look like. During this takedown, things will be pretty brief. I'm not going to go ahead and unscrew all of the hammer parts, pop all the pins out and whatnot, but I do want to get into a basic takedown and show you the internals as much as I can right now. First, you're going to take this guy, bring it into fire mode, rack the charging handle back. Now, unlike your AKs, where you'll see there's a button back here to remove your dust cover, this guy's got this funky little lever right up in the front that pops out, and you have to pull it out to the side. It stays retained inside of the replica, which is kind of nice, so it's not going to go anywhere or disappear. The entire dust cover should pop backwards, and then up and out, and you can see where it goes through. Now, more similar to the AKs, this guy should push forward, up and out, and there you have your spring, your rod, your buffer. The bolt should then pull back and out, just like any standard AK would. And then on the inside, you can see all your hammer components, which are significantly lubed up, actually, which is impressive. You don't often see that. And then your hop-up unit and your mock gas block. We're also going to go ahead and remove this muzzle device that doesn't come with it, just so that we can see the outer barrel. And then we'll go ahead and get a magnet. Now, first things first, it's essential that you know that every single screw, pin, and rod on this entire replica is going to be made of steel. So I won't cover all of the pins and all of the rods and you name it. We want to check out some of the larger parts. Working our way from the back, you have an entirely polymer stock with a polymer takedown lever, polymer grip. The magwell is also polymer. The trigger is aluminum. The mag release is steel. Your safety or your fire selector switch is steel. However, you have aluminum paddles on the side. The entire receiver is a stamped steel AK style receiver. Polymer handguard. The takedown pin is steel, obviously, like I said before. The outer barrel is aluminum. And I believe that's all the parts that I wanted to showcase on the outside. We'll move up to the upper. Is steel dust cover, aluminum rails, and then aluminum sight or rear sight. We'll first take a look at the bolt. So the bolt is kind of interesting. The nozzle is huge. It's an absolute chonker of a nozzle. Not like a Tokyo Marui Sega 12 nozzle, but it's a chonky nozzle. Like the plastic on that is thick. I don't think you're going to have any problems with the longevity of it. Obviously, it's plastic. There's a ton of wobble in there, but it does have a return spring unlike the G2 GHK AKs, so that's nice. A return spring on there is very cool. The bolt is aluminum, upper and lower, and then obviously so is the rod up in the front. The guide rod is aluminum and the spring is steel. The entire block on the end is aluminum. And then you have this cushion that's awesome. It's actually got some O-rings back there, and that helps dampen the sound a little bit and reduce the amount of wear from the bolt slamming back into the rear housing. So that's really nice, actually, and that's going to be steel. Moving on to the inside here. Your hop-up unit is plastic. The adjustment dial is steel. All of your hammer parts are going to be a combination of, looks like pot metal from the wear on them. Yeah, they're pot metal, pot metal, pot metal. There is no steel hammer components whatsoever. And then I almost forgot over here, the piece that your stock locks into is going to be steel, and so is the swivel point. And now it's time for the pros and cons. So on the first list of pros, obviously I'm a little biased here. It's an AK, or an AK style replica with a thin mag. I love thin mags, I love AKs. So huge fan, and I apologize if I'm geeking over. Overall build construction is super positive. There is no wiggling in any of the parts. When I tell you this thing is unbelievably solid, respect of the mag obviously, it's unreal. There's a little wobbling in the stock, but how else are you going to get it to move if you don't have a little bit of movement? But there is, everything is just unbelievably brick solid. The mag does have a little bit of wobble in there, but again, it's a gas mag. That's not the end of the world. It's going to wear in over time anyhow. Its efficiency, I would mark as an absolute plus. It got through mag after mag with zero problems whatsoever. It fed almost all of the BBs even when the mag was getting low on gas. And the accuracy was up there. It was great for a submachine replica with a small barrel. Very impressed. With this guy also having no real steel counterpart that I'm aware of other than like the PPK20, this guy is super cool and it's super funky. I really do enjoy all of the slight differences that they have, where it's almost like a combination of an AR or an M4 plus a mix of a AK, which is super funky, super cool. And another thing that I really do like that they do, and you'll know if you watch my videos pretty consistently, is with the thread adapter, it comes pre-installed with a plate up at the front, and that plate has an O-ring on the back. What that does is, like I say all of the time, throw an O-ring on the end of your muzzle, right under the muzzle between the threads. What that does is it requires you to use no Loctite, and it allows some little bit of spring tension behind it, so that combination of the tension from you torquing it down, not all the way, but enough so it gets tight, and then the rubber expanding and pushing back against it will keep your muzzles from undoing themselves without any Loctite glue. See that? It tightens up and then it pushes down on it, and you don't have to tighten it all the way. And it's not going to come off, it's not going to unthread itself at all. Huge plus. Now, as for the list of cons, again, I do have a decent list of them. Not all of these are functional related. A lot of them are easy fixes or packaging designs or small things that I think should be done that don't actually affect the replica and can easily be modified on your own. Let's get into those now. The first things first, I love the fact that it comes in a hard case. However, everything was kind of just jumbled around in there. There was no packaging around any of it. Everything was just loose. So not only did we have some tearing up of the inside of the foam, which I guess, that's the design of the case. But the mag was also loose and had a handful of scratches and dings and marks on it. And if I could get this in the correct lighting, unfortunately, so did the PPK20. Next is this mag. This is where a majority of my complaints come in. If you've ever loaded banana mags that don't have the ability to load directly from the top, you know they stink. So, first of all, not only does the base plate not have a port for the gas fill, you have to pull this guy down and slide the base plate off in order to fill the gas. So I recommend just take a drill, measure it, and drill it out. I don't know why they don't come pre-drilled out. That is an absolute pain in the butt in my opinion. Specifically because when this channel is filled up with BBs and the spring is all the way compressed, you cannot decompress this guy down here to release the base plate anyway. There should be a hole there. Again, I get it. I understand. But put a hole there, please. Also, it is a pain in the butt to load. The feeding tube here, or I guess the follower, does not move smoothly. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and there's no area for it to lock down into. So you have to hold it down with a finger. Now where this becomes a problem is you can't load the BBs up at the top. They have to load directly into this little port right up in the front. And the issue is if you load them holding it like this, not only does the speed loader pop right off, but also the BBs don't flow down into the mag because it cradles them up at the front. So you have to hold the mag like this. And then when you're pushing it through with the speed loader has to be held in an upright direction so the BBs can pull at the bottom of the speed loader. Now, WELLPRO did come up with a solution for this, obviously. You can just use the speed loader and adapter. However, the adapter is not attached to the speed loader. It's a pain in the butt and it falls apart all the time. So I recommend, these are cheap. It comes with the replica. Utilize it for just the replica. I'm sure you already have a ton of these around. Just super glue it in place to save yourself the hassle. Still, we hold the issue of my fingernails are absolutely abused here. After we get this down, you have to latch it in here like this. And it's like a combination of holding it in a weird angle, but then they don't load correctly. It's kind of weird because like if I want to hold it like this, you see how they all pull that way, but then if I want to hold it like this, at some point I lose tension to the BBs. It's like this whole, just make it loadable from the top, please. Now, yeah, the mag is really the biggest problem. That's the biggest complaint that I have. This isn't so much a complaint, but this guy. I do not mind this setup for my hop-up unit. I like the fact that it's low profile. I like that it's accessible with the bolt closed, and out of the box you can just go ahead and adjust it, but you do need an Allen key. Now WELLPRO goes ahead and they're kind enough to assist you with this guy. They provide it for you in the box. I'm going to lose this. Most people are going to lose this. Unless you're like my wife and you're organized 100%, know exactly where everything is at all times, you're going to lose this. So you can just use a regular Allen key. So this is virtually useless. I appreciate it, but again, it's virtually useless. There's nowhere to store it on here unless you maybe DIY a little pouch or tape it to the side. So just keep an Allen key. My solution is maybe make this protrude just a little bit more so that I can adjust it with my hands on the outside. Make it adjustable on the outside. That's it. Or don't. Not a big deal. Thanks for sending it. I'm not going to use it. I'll just keep an Allen key on my person. But, that's just fine. Final thoughts on regards to the PPK20. I know I had a decent bit of things to say, especially most of the problems were with the mag and are easily fixable on its own and really aren't that big of a deal. I am unbelievably impressed with this little thing. For me, it checks all the boxes. Efficient, accurate, looks like an AK, functions like an AK, with a little bit of a modern twist. I don't particularly feel as though you'll have any problems long-term or longevity-wise. Everything seems to be pretty solid quality, and all the hammer parts seem to have some pretty large functioning parts, even though they aren't steel, so they shouldn't wear down too quickly, but I can't speak on that just yet. However, it's definitely unique, it's definitely fun, and for a CQB replica, I really do enjoy it. And I don't really know how to end this off other than saying Lancer Tactical was gangster enough to also supply me with the Gen 3 variation of their AEG PPK20 to showcase for you in an upcoming video. Stay tuned. Let me know what you thought. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you on the next video.